Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. This is episode 9 of the Carbon Cycle and Energy Security Revision Unit over here on my channel. Today we're going to be looking at degrading the water and carbon cycles, so stick around, subscribe down below, and let's just get straight on into this. Forest loss. Palm oil is the most commonly used produced vegetable oil. It's used in foods such as frozen pizzas and biscuits, and also in cosmetics and as biofuel. 66 million tonnes of it are being produced every year, with half of the palm oil imported into the EU being used as biofuel. The warm, humid climate of the tropics provides perfect conditions for growing oil palms. Huge areas of rainforest in Southeast Asia, Latin America and Africa are being or have been bulldozed or burned to create land for oil palm plantations. In the process, they release vast amounts of carbon into the atmosphere. Indonesia is the world's largest producer of palm oil, and in 2015 its greenhouse gas emissions temporarily overtook that of the US, caused mostly by burning forests. Impacts on well-being. The palm oil industry meets growing demand for a much desired raw material, but local communities can come off badly as a result. Many depend on rainforests for everything they need to survive, but smallholders and indigenous people who have inhabited the forests for generations are often driven away by the actions of palm oil producers. In Indonesia, over 700 land conflicts in 2016 were linked to the palm oil industry. Palm oil production is also tough on animals. The loss of biodiversity and habitats, endangered species such as the orangutan, Borneo elephant, Sumatra tiger, each of which is moving closer to extinction as its rainforest home is cleared for oil palms. Protecting forest stores. In May 2011, Indonesia's president declared a forest moratorium aimed at reducing deforestation. With $1 billion of funding from the UN and the Norwegian government, moratorium stopped the issuing of permits for the clearance of primary forests or peatland for timber, wood pulp or palm oil. By 2013, emissions had fallen between 1 and 2.5%, and in May 2015, the moratorium was extended to help Indonesia further reduce its CO2 emissions by 26% by 2020. However, its effectiveness is limited. Clearance permits that had already been issued before 2011 went ahead, and illegal logging remains a problem, so the moratorium only reduced clearance by about 15%. Forest recovery. Indonesia's forest moratorium shows that forest stores can be protected. Data from the UN's FAO suggests that high-income countries are now the only country category with expanding forest areas. Although the global forested area fell by 3% between 1990 and 2015, this trend may be starting to change. Between 2010 and 2015, an average of 7.6 million hectares of forest were lost every year, but 4.3 million hectares were also gained, leaving a net annual loss of 3.3 million hectares. This net annual loss was half of that of the 1990s. The temperate forested area has increased, although the tropical forest area has decreased. Rates of forest loss are highest in low-income countries. China aims to increase its forested area by 23% between 2015 and 2020. Brazil has halved its rate of deforestation since 2000, but that's still a loss. Attitudes and actions. Consumers often make their views felt about issues such as palm oil production by joining environmental pressure groups such as WWF and Greenpeace and supporting their campaigns. Joining is usually by subscription, and the money raised is used to fund campaigns that often involve direct action. For example, in 2016, Greenpeace activists blockaded a palm oil refinery in Rotterdam owned by the IOI Group, a leading palm oil TNC and one of Malaysia's largest property development companies. A Greenpeace report linked the company's suppliers of palm oil to deforestation, forest fires and human rights abuses. A campaigner said Unilever and Nestle have cancelled contracts with IOI, but it has not changed its practices. We hope that our action will give them the push to do what is necessary to protect rainforests and people. IOI responded that, whilst there have been fires in our Indonesian developments, they were not started by IOI. Climate change and the Yukon. Yukon is a territory in the far northwest of Canada, and a significant part of it lies within the Arctic Circle. Like most Arctic and subarctic areas, it has seen temperatures rise sharply, and forecasts for continued warming. The increasing temperature has implications for precipitation patterns, river regimes and water stores. Increasing temperatures led to increased evaporation and atmospheric water vapour. Across Yukon, winter precipitation increased between 1950 and 1998. However, a greater proportion fell as rain in spring and less as snow than previously. Climate scientists agree that annual precipitation will increase by 5% and 20% by 2100. Snowmelt now begins earlier in Yukon, and snow cover is decreasing. This alters river regimes, bringing earlier peak flows to most river basins. Between 1958 and 2008, the total ice area in Yukon shrank by 22%, and as glaciers recede, stream flow is decreasing, despite an initial increase in meltwater. Climate change is leading to thawing of the permafrost, so water penetrates deeper into the soil, instead of forming surface runoff. Since 2000, inflows in the Yukon River have increased by 39% due to increasing temperatures and precipitation. As permafrost thaws, climate change could increase the amount of groundwater. Changing precipitation patterns. Climate models predict that as temperatures rise, precipitation patterns will change in two main ways. Firstly, existing patterns will strengthen. This is commonly called wet get wet, dry get drier. Wet get wetter, dry get drier. Warmer air traps more water vapour, and climate scientists expect more water to fall in those parts of the earth that are already wet. But because the earth is a closed system and precipitation is balanced by evaporation, an increase in dry areas is also expected. Secondly, as atmospheric circulation changes, a shift in storm tracks will move storms further from the equator towards the poles. Futures and uncertainties. A team of European scientists believes that the 20th century was neither much drier nor wetter than for half the globe than previously. Their research showed that temperature increases in the 20th century may not have affected rainfall as much as thought. The team used tree rings, lake sediments, and historical data to produce a new picture of past climate. They found larger areas with relatively wetter conditions in the 9th to 11th centuries and in the 20th century, but drier conditions than those recorded in the 20th century have been widespread between the 12th and 19th centuries. This study challenges some climate models because it shows limitations in trying to predict which regions may become wetter or drier in a warmer world. Threats to ocean health. The well-being and survival of many coastal communities depends on the health of the ocean and marine ecosystems, especially in developing countries. Protecting mangroves. Mangrove forests are found along the tropical and subtropical coasts of Africa, Australia, Asia and the Americas. They are one of the most complex ecosystems on the planet, and mangrove trees with their prop roots provide a wide range of benefits, such as stabilising coastlines against erosion, collecting nutrient-rich sediments trapped between the entangled prop roots, providing protection and shelter against extreme weather and tsunami by absorbing and dispersing surges, and providing nurseries for coastal fish from predators. However, globally, half of all mangrove forests have been lost since 1950, and clearing mangroves for tourist development or shrimp and prawn aquaculture has accounted for 25% of this loss. Food. 520 million of the poorest people on Earth depend on fisheries for their food and income. Climate change is altering the distribution and productivity of species, food webs and biological processes. It's not just tropical waters that are being affected. Warming waters in the North Atlantic are killing the cold water plankton that North Atlantic cod eat. Arctic krill stocks, food for whales, are declining by up to 75% per decade in some parts of the Southern Ocean. Coral reefs shelter 25% of marine species. But ocean acidification and warming oceans are leading to coral bleaching, which affects food sources and incomes for people living in coastal communities. Tourism. Higher water temperatures in 2016 caused the worst coral bleaching ever recorded on Australia's Great Barrier Reef. Globally, coral reefs are tourist attractions, but damage to the coral can directly impact on the income that local people derive from tourism. The main cause of the damage has been climate change, added to the reefs being lost by coastal pollution caused by industrial and agricultural runoff, as well as oil spills. All of these problems directly affect the coastal zones and reduce income from tourism. And that is the end of episode 9 of this series. I really hope you enjoyed. Please do subscribe down below. The last episode of this series is going up same time, same place next week, Monday 4:30 p.m, and I'm sure you don't want to miss it, so I will see you then. Bye guys.